Good morning. Hope everybody's doing great this morning. Welcome to this edition of Turnaround Marriage Live. We're excited to dive in today, and we're going to be talking about a hidden monster that maybe you've not even realized, maybe you've not thought of, or maybe you are aware of it and not addressed it. That hidden monster that may be behind the scenes robbing you and your marriage of joy in life, joy in your marriage. And we're going to dive into that today.
Yes. That hidden monster robbed us for many, many years of just so much joy and gratitude and happiness in our marriage. And so we want to dive in. So whether you're new in our group, whether you're in our Turnaround Marriage group, or you're watching us on the coaching page, we want to welcome you. If you've been in our group for a while and maybe you've been kind of lurking, watching the posts, and this is probably for you. So we want to dive in. But we are Scott and Rachel, and we help committed Christian couples finally end the cycles of conflict, negativity, and disconnection, and reclaim the love, passion, and playfulness that they once had, so that you can have a God-honoring marriage. So we're glad you're joining us.
Yes, absolutely. And that hidden monster, I guess we just lay it right out there, is fear. Now, I realize that some of you might be thinking, that doesn't seem like that applies to me. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm pretty strong. But hold on for a minute. I want you to just think about where your position is. I want you to think about what could actually be the reality of the situation. So I'm going to throw an example out where fear, take, for example, a strong man, could be leading the way, right? So a man, for example, could think, a strong, burly man, there's nothing that stops him. He works hard. He loves to hunt and fish. He's a man's man. But perhaps you're afraid of opening up to your wife. Perhaps you're afraid of letting her in, really opening up. And maybe it looks like something like this. Maybe it's, well, the last time I really opened up to her, she didn't really understand where I was coming from, and she didn't really respect me. And I was trying to tell her what I felt, and she just closed the door on me. And that might have happened once, twice, number of times. And you started to really believe that you couldn't open up. And so therefore, fear started to lead the way. And what happens when fear takes control? When fear takes control, you're not in control, and God's not leading the way. So let me just dive into that a little bit more. So what could happen is, if in that type of scenario, the man is thinking, I can't really open up, then the belief is that that's actually true. The belief is, I can't open up to her. She's not going to listen to me. She doesn't really respect my opinion. At last time I opened up, she just kind of threw it back in my face. She usually does that anyways. She's not really going to listen to me. If I open up, I'm probably going to get slammed, and I don't want that. I want her to respect me. It doesn't seem like she does. And then that turns into even more than just a little bit of fear. It turns into the feeling of, well, she just rejects me, and I don't like that feeling, and I'm just going to avoid it. She doesn't really respect me. And then it becomes this reality in your mind that that's just the way it is. And if you pepper in the back, well, wait a minute, before we got married, somebody said we're probably not going to work out in to begin with, then it builds into a whole lot more. So in the back of your mind is, this marriage was doomed. In the back of your mind, she doesn't really respect me.
Yeah.
Go on.
Equally so for a woman, an example or a scenario might be that a woman wants to be able to share, a concern she has in the marriage, and she wants to be able to approach her husband.
Right.
And so maybe she attacks or nags, or she does not exactly sure how to approach him about whatever it is that's bothering her. And so when she does, he immediately shuts down, and he immediately withdraws, and he immediately just numbs and checks out. And so therefore, then her belief is going to be, see, I can't really share how I feel. See, I can't really let him know what's really going on. And again, the same kinds of things. You start to build these beliefs. Well, he just can't handle my feeling. Well, he doesn't really care about me. If he cared, he would open up and listen. And so then we start to write these stories, and we start to really believe them, and let fear lead the way, where you are now afraid to share with your husband your hopes and dreams, how you feel, your concerns or whatever. And so it becomes this vicious cycle of, then every time you feel something, you might nag or attack or, poke, because you want to get a reaction. You're sick of the withdrawal. You're sick of that, him checking out. And so it's like, oh, how do I, and you don't do it consciously, but it's that unconscious, well, let's just put a little jab in here and there and see if I can get a rise out of him, because I want him to care. I want him to hear me. I want him to know what I'm feeling. But fear can lead the way.
Absolutely. And we were definitely stuck there once for a long period of time.
Mhm.
And guys, what I really want to communicate, this is what happens is when this is running through your mind, these types of things, like you said, Rachel, it's like it's the storyline that you begin to believe. And it's like then you start saying, well, it's always been this way.
Mm.
And maybe we were just destined for failure. And maybe he just is incapable of hearing my opinion, or she won't respect where I'm coming from. And that's just the way it is. And that's just who she is. And come to think of it, she's never really respected me. She's never really looked at my opinion with any regard. And maybe when my sister warned me, maybe she was really onto something way back when. And and suddenly what is actually sort of on you for living in fear, and maybe the both of you, is this whole reality that you've built based on that fear. That fear leads to feelings. That feeling becomes fact, and that fact is now leading the way. But who is leading the way? Ultimately, it's fear. That monster, it's like the Gremlin, has taken control of the keys,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they're driving the car.
You guys remember that terrible 80s movie Gremlins, probably.
So lame.
Yeah, the Gremlins, they start off like cute and kind of like, oh, like some of our fears might start off, kind of cute. Oh, yeah, I'm kind of scared. Yeah, I don't like opening up. Just make these storylines,
Right.
But it's like, well, remember the movie. How do you kill those gremlins?
Well, before you talk about killing it, how do they grow?
Oh, well, how do they grow? Well, they grow. I think it was if you feed them after midnight, they kind of go crazy.
Yes.
And that's, again, when our fears can really take over is in the night, right? When we're
Right.
laying there and we're thinking and we let our minds kind of race and wander. And, we go down all these storylines of, well, this means that, and that's always true. And these always and never statements that are never a good idea to say, always and never statements.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's that feeding them after midnight where they really go crazy. And then it's watering them is what makes them multiply, right? When we give them some fuel for the fire, so to speak, then they can really multiply and grow. And then this fear becomes this huge gremlin that's now driving the bus. And if you can imagine a gremlin, the gremlin of fear climbing into your car, sitting in your lap, and you want to go a certain direction. You want to take your marriage a certain place. And you're on the way, but here comes fear, and he gets in your seat, and he's turning on the radio, and it's blasting a terrible song, and he's doing the windshield wipers, and he's just, and he's turning the bus around, and he is going where he wants to go. Right. And fear is driving the bus, and it's like, then you feel out of control, and you're like, how did we get here? And so you've got to learn how to take authority over that.
Yes. And how do you kill a gremlin?
Well, just shine the light on it.
Yeah.
That
exactly.
kills it. Shining the light in the dark place, light always overcomes darkness, right? The scriptures teach that. And Jesus is the light of the world. And how many times does scripture tell us to fear not, fear not, fear not? And in marriage, if you are letting the gremlin of fear drive the bus, if you're letting that gremlin of fear keep you away from intimacy, from connection, from opening up, guys, we want to implore you, do not let that gremlin take over.
Absolutely. And the reality of the situation is if you're a believer, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, and you have given the keys of your life, the decisions that you're making, the keys to your marriage to fear, that is unbecoming of a believer. Because in 1 John chapter 4, verse 18, it says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out all fear. And we who know the perfect love of God through Jesus Christ know what love is, the very definition of love. That's who we know. That's who's paid the price for us. And if we know the Lord Jesus and his perfect love, and his love is in us and we're in him, there is no place for fear to be leading the way. That's why the scriptures over and over again tell us fear not, because it doesn't have a place here in our hearts or in our marriage.
Right.
And that's why oftentimes when fear is leading the way, couples also struggle in their faith because they're not in tune with the perfect love of Christ. They're letting fear lead the way. And that's why, guys, you need to understand when you let fear take over, it's having its way in your life. It's having its way in your marriage. And who is to blame? Well, if you're going with the narrative that has been running through your mind, it's their fault. It's your spouse's fault. And quite frankly, because it's been so bad for so long, it's probably God's fault that I've gotten here too. And that's the lie from the pit of hell. You've allowed something else to lead the way in your life and marriage So whose fault is that?
Yeah.
And we were stuck there for a long time.
We sure were.
Yes.
We sure were. Yeah. And I think about the husbands out there who, they're afraid to get hurt. And
Yeah.
so they've just closed off the walls of their heart.
Yes.
I think about the wives who are afraid of rejection. So they have stopped coming on to their husband. They have stopped opening up to their husband. They have stopped reaching out to their husband. And when you're in this prison of fear,
right,
it can feel so isolating. It can feel so lonely, and you sort of feel protected, right? Because sometimes fear can be like this, I don't know, blanket, like, well, yeah, I'm a little scared, so I'm going to protect myself over here. And honestly, that's the worst place, because what it does is isolate you. It makes you lonely. It pulls you away from the very person and the very being, God himself, of who is there to be that love in your life.
Yes.
And so if you are letting fear rob you of intimacy in your marriage, of true communication, of true vulnerability, of true connection in your marriage, we just want to implore you, first of all, to take the scriptures to heart, to fear not. Fear not. Do not let that gremlin take control. Take authority over it and get it in the backseat and handcuff that sucker.
Yeah, you've got to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more aspect. One more aspect about that is if you're allowing that fear to lead the way, what is going to happen inevitably is it becomes your reality. Like, for example, how many times do we hear people say, well, that's just who I am. That's just the way it is for me. Like I've always really struggled in this area.
Yeah.
And then you could go to the doctor and tell them, well, I've struggled with this area, and obviously you're struggling. So, well, here's medication for that. Like, and how many times do people make the fear that's been leading the way their actual reality, and sometimes their identity?
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place, but we see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you throw out your response, what you think about what happens in that scenario.
Well, yeah, when you allow that reality to become your identity, then it now becomes your excuse. It now becomes your victimhood. Well, this is how it is. Well, I struggle with XYZ. I have this diagnosis, or that's how I am. And so then, therefore, it is self-fulfilling. Yeah. Because then you're gonna walk in that new identity. And so, what we help couples do every single day, and with our private clients, is we help them bust out of these ruts of fear. Right. We help them learn to take authority over the gremlin of fear. And maybe you've been afraid to book a call. Maybe you've been afraid to reach out for help. Maybe you've been afraid of upsetting the apple cart, so to speak, and talking to your spouse about getting some help for your marriage. Guys, if that's you, we want to encourage you, stop letting fear run the bus.
Yes. And for people that do book a call, and I talk to a lot of people, one of the common things that we see is we ask the question, will both you and your spouse be on the call? Which obviously that's a better scenario. So often people simply won't even ask their spouse. They just won't even ask them. Well, I can't do that yet. Well, I might encourage you that, are you letting fear lead the way? Yes. And so, and it might be fear that's holding you back from the marriage that you've always been hoping for. Mm-hmm. Indeed, the marriage that God designed for it to be. I mean, God designed marriage to be a beautiful place of belonging and safety and forgiveness and being forgiven and loving each other and having that intimacy in every level. Mm-hmm. And if fear is mixed in with that, you cannot have the marriage that God intended for you.
Right.
Bottom line. Mm-hmm. So guys, what I want to encourage you to do is to think about, again, that passage, 1 John 4:18, perfect love casts out all fear. But Google the word fear in the Bible, and there's hundreds of 400 plus times that the word fear is addressed in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And fear not, how many times does it say that? Countless.
Yes.
It's so clear, guys, in the Bible that has no place in the people of God and has no place in our marriages. And I want to encourage you, maybe fear has been holding you back from reaching out to getting help. Maybe fear has been holding you back from reaching out and talking to somebody. And so I want to encourage you today to go ahead and book a call with us, because what we do is, obviously we don't bite, and we've been there. We were once stuck there. But what we do on that call is to talk about what's not working in your marriage, talk about where you hope things could go and a path to get there. And that path, by the way, is not one that should be driven by the gremlin, right?
Right.
And if I can help you to get from A to B, from where you've been, or where you are now to where you hope that what you know that God intended this marriage to be. If I can help you, I'm absolutely going to make that path clear. But if there's something better out there, I'm going to point you in that direction. Either way, you're going to get clarity about what you need to do to get back that marriage. So I want to encourage you to go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. And pick a time that works and fill out a short questionnaire, and we'll hop on that call. It might be the best 45 minutes you've ever invested in your marriage. And we're here. We're ready for you. And we know that fear is something that is holding back most every couple that we talk to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're struggling, it's likely that fear, the gremlin, that monster, is holding you back. So we do want to encourage you to book that call. Scott has incredible precision with being able to diagnose really what's the underlying problem, not just what are the symptoms that are going on in your marriage, and then helping you paint that picture of dreaming again. Because I think so often many of us have stopped dreaming. When things get hard, it's like, well, it's always going to be this way. Yeah, but it's like if you can begin to dream. I mean, the scripture says, "Without a vision, the people perish." And so if you don't have a vision for things getting better, it's going to feel impossible, and fear is going to be that overwhelming gremlin that just says it's always going to be this way. And and so we just want to encourage you, like, what we do is not Christian counseling, which has its place. This is Christian marriage coaching. This really helps you. We help you find the fastest path from where you are to where you want to go. We help you knock down every obstacle that's in your way, and we help you get there quickly. We don't, you're not going to lay on the couch and tell us all about what happened to you when you were 6, although that might be appropriate to revisit that. But we look in the windshield, we look forward to where you want to go, and we have a small rearview mirror where we can glance backward to see where you've come from. And guys, if fear is holding you back, we want to encourage you, take authority over that gremlin, lock him up in the backseat, and book that call. Go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call.
And absolutely. Let me just throw one more thing out there that you just struck a chord when you said that. Like, I think a lot of times people think, oh my goodness, I don't, that's so scary to even think about. Like, I'm going to have to open myself up. We're going to have to do a lot of hard work. It's going to be a lot of pain. It's going to be very uncomfortable. There's a little bit of that, but we have a heck of a lot of fun. Like we do, our clients do. Like we had a call last night, everybody was laughing, and it can be a lot of fun. And so the fear is telling you that it's going to be all this work. It's going to take years and years to fix it. And that's just simply not the case. And one of the secret sauces that we do is that we work on the marriage and you at the same time. And that is so different than what's out there. Because if we can help you to up level, help you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, every way to level up and bring that to the marriage, everything can change. So we kick out fear in your own hearts. We kick out fear in your marriage, and everything changes, and does so very quickly when you crush fear. So I look forward to talking to you soon. I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you.
Bye.